A word of warning. Today we're chatting about the Legend of Vox Machina, and things are bound to get rowdy. Make sure you've watched through Season 2, Episode 9. Welcome to Words and Whiskey Short Pours, a mostly monthly podcast where we have a fun time discussing fictional worlds and the people that create them, all while boozing just a little bit. My name is Kross, and today I'm joined by PJ, Leslie, and Josh. We are going to be chatting again about the mythical, the magical, the mighty Vox Machina.
Well, not mighty. That's the next one.
I mean, yeah, right. Yes, that is technically the next one, but I like the meme. I like,
So based on this intro, you're giving us permission to be really, really rowdy, right? Like, that's what you're saying?
Well,
yeah. I think that's full permission to just say whatever you want. I mean, really try and get us canceled, That's
actively.
That's the goal. That's the goal on this
But
one.
we don't have math art today.
Yeah. Math art is busy. They are busy, so that is what it is. We knew that one of these was going to have we missed PJ last week. We're replacing PJ with Math art.
I thought PJ was just really quiet last week.
I was just quiet.
PJ was just really quiet until he didn't talk.
He had nothing to say.
A lot to say about that third episode.
Really fired up on that one.
Well, I think the goal is to make this a really just bad and uncomfortable conversation, so Math art doesn't feel like they missed out on anything.
Yeah,
it's a fair point. Our show, Catacomb Party, just sucks. Do you guys ever have a bad time playing underneath Math art? I just feel like we're on the worst rails. And the world is so small.
Oh, no.
We're never allowed to explore anything.
Zero creativity.
So many rules.
Their voice isn't good. I don't like listening to their voice, I'll tell you that much.
None of the voices.
Zero description to anything. Yeah, they're just mean. So everything.
Brutal.
Oh, that might be true.
Brutal.
That's probably true.
You want to know why Math Art's probably missing this is because they're prepping for recording tomorrow. I almost guarantee it, actually, now that I think about it.
Yeah.
I'm positive that's what's going on. So I'm very excited. Regardless, we miss you, Math Art. We'll definitely have you here for the next one. So we will see you then. But today we're going to be talking about episodes 7 through 9 of season 2 of Vox Machina. Of course, the Legend of Vox Machina, as we have before. So quickly, before we hop into the episodes and everything else like that, let's talk about what we're drinking. We'll start with PJ. What are you having on this marvelous afternoon?
I have a beer called Passionberry Peach Puff Tart from the Brewing Project.
Wow.
Ooh, sounds sweet.
It's a sour ale with milk sugar, passion fruit, peach, blackberry, and marshmallow flavor.
Whoa.
Yum.
What percent is it?
It's super, super sweet. What was that?
What percentage is it?
5.6.
Okay. Not bad.
Yummy. Yeah. That's tasty. Leslie. Oh, yeah. Sorry. No, you kick it off. You're right. Good on you, PJ. You do it.
Yeah, taking that initiative. I like it.
Right. Fuck me.
I'm drinking a nice little local seltzer from Glendale, Arizona. It's called a White Claw Raspberry.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow. ASMR stream.
Refreshing.
I'm still recovering from being sick, and laughing this hard is activating my
Are you
cough.
feeling better?
Oh, so much better. Thank God, finally. But I've still got that deep, mucusy, cough going on. It's great.
Describe it more in more detail.
No.
If you think about a web collapsing and then becoming a ball of phlegm as it pushes up your esophagus and into the back of your throat.
Okay. Yep. We're good.
Yeah. And then it drips back down. You know what I mean? And then it goes back down and it resumes.
Yeah.
And then
very cool.
And then
yeah, back and forth.
It's like a prairie dog going in and out of a hole. But if it was also an amoeba.
Leslie, what are you drinking?
Well,
Bits.
Today I am drinking crisp, refreshing, purified water from my hydro flask, adorned with multiple stickers from multiple things that I enjoy. I'll go into detail. From Zelda, Animal Crossing, So I'm just drinking water because after my flub in the first set of 3 episodes, I will not be drinking on these episodes anymore.
Here's the deal, Leslie. You could drink on the last episode. You just have to check beforehand. You know what I mean?
That's
Like
fair.
on the last one, you could do it.
Yeah, 'cause
Also,
it's
I
already
trust you
going.
enough to check it. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I don't trust that. Thank you for trusting me,
Well, that's
that's
fair.
yeah.
Maybe she'll have a White Claw as we discuss.
Yeah, at the very last
9.
one. Yeah. I hit record,
Yeah.
open the can. That's it.
Yeah.
Click. Perfect. I am having, because I don't deserve to be thrown to, and I understand.
Oh.
I'm just a miserable
For
sack
some
of
reason,
Hey,
I thought you
Crossley, what
opened
are you
this up.
having
You know?
today?
No, I always
And that's
pitch to
everybody.
PJ.
All right, let's go watch the, watch the episodes.
I'm having a Tropical Lightning from Wilmington Brewing Company. It's as close as you get to like a staple IPA in the area. There are tons of breweries here, for the record. I want to say it's 22 breweries for
Very
a quarter of a
nice.
million people. Like, it's crazy. Yeah, so lots of options, but this is one of the like 3 that you can get at pretty much any bar you go to. It's really just an excellent beer. They kill it. They crush it. Everything that Wilmington Brewing Company puts out rules. But yeah, I
Nice.
figured that
I
I'd
mean,
just do
yeah,
start with the standard.
Very
22
nice.
breweries is really cute, you know. It's really cute.
Mhm.
Hey,
150,
Shut up.
baby. San Diego. What?
you know what?
Did you just Google that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We also have
Yeah.
like 3 million people instead of,
Yeah,
Half a
right.
million,
I know.
so
I was like
it's-
a quarter of a million. Yeah.
yeah, a quarter of a million or whatever. So,
We've got
And I mean, the rationale is, yeah, I was going to say, PJ's got the same population and has 4 breweries.
oh, no.
Oh, wow.
I mean,
Really?
Leslie and I are from Fresno, California originally, and that's a 500,000. And I want to say we have like 10, maybe.
Mm.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
you're doing pretty good over there.
It's not bad. It's not bad.
Yeah.
We've got like 5 distilleries too, so it's pretty sweet. All right. Well, sweet. With that, does anyone have anything else that they want to bring up before going into these episodes? No one's watched them, right?
No,
Josh,
we
did
have
you
not
resist the
watched
urge?
them. Yeah.
we actually managed not to, and I'm mad about it. And it's been all over my social feed. I feel like I've seen all 3 episodes anyways, spoiled for me because I waited for you. But, you know, it's fine.
Yeah, well, we love them, so
It's
Yeah.
true.
it's worth
It's true.
I'll
This is
forgive you
the
eventually.
ultimate show of Josh's love.
Mhm.
That's what
it. It really
is.
is.
It was rough. Every
He
night
likes
I asked
you.
Leslie, I'm like, do you think we should just watch them? And she's like, no. And I was like, "What, maybe?"
No.
So it wasn't me. Leslie didn't let me.
Well, thank you to Leslie
Of
for preserving
course.
as much of Josh's experience as you could.
It's what I do.
All right. Well, sweet. Well, we'll see you on the other side of episode 7, The Fey Realm. That gets us through episode 7.
All right. Zero practice. Doing it dry. Gonna try and do it as Garmili. Garmili? Oh, hello. After escaping from the Black Dragon, Umbrasil Vox Machina is split up. Half of the party find themselves lost in another dimension, mysterious Fey realm. They encounter strange dangers as they seek to recover the next vestige of divergence. Meanwhile, the other half of the party searches for a way to heal their cursed teammate. It's more Lucky Charms, but you know,
Wow.
it was,
That's good.
I mean, it
though.
did the trick.
Yeah.
So, like, it was a decent Billy Boyd impression at the very
I
least.
tried, you know. Billy, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I'll do better next time. I know you listen to this podcast, so.
Mhm.
Thanks, Pippin, for subscribing for years. We appreciate it.
You guys might recognize him on the Discord as P-Dog, Pippin Dog, I believe is his
Mhm.
Or Sir
handle,
Pipsalot.
so-
He actually
Sir
subscribed
Pipsalot.
twice on Patreon.
Yes, of course.
He's got the money, you know.
All right. What did you guys think of that?
That was fun.
Loved it. Yeah, I thought that one was fun. So like art wise, it feels like it's one of my favorite episodes. Plot wise, it was a lot very quickly to like get us kind of from point A to B. It feels like bad to say like not a lot happened, but like kind of
Right.
like we got some good character moments, and like I still think that this was a great episode. But like we kind of just got from A to B, and that's A-okay. Sometimes you have to do that.
It's that like exact halfway point of the season where it's like shifting into the next arc, and it's kind of like it's a lot of setup.
Yeah, I think it's kind of solidifying my thoughts on this season as almost like 4 episodes, even though they're split up into 3 episodes for each drop.
Yeah,
like it almost feels like each drop is a standalone episode. So like this is a good lead in into the next 2 for this like section.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if they wanted to release 1.5 episodes. They're like, no. Have to split it into 3.
Well, I think originally the Kickstarter was like it was a 30-minute special, and then they're like, we're going to do an 1.5 like special was what they wanted to do. So whenever they got picked up, I think they were just like, we're just going to make 4 movies at a time and put them out, so.
Yeah, and it basically does that while adhering to like the standard like 26-minute animated format where you have, basically a 3 arc.
Exactly.
3
It
arc,
does.
right.
It does it really well. But yeah, this one definitely feels like a lot of setup for the next 2. So I'm really excited to watch those after this. I wouldn't say nothing happened because I got to see Percy with 3 peni. So, I mean, that's something that happened. That's happened.
True.
That did happen.
Yeah.
Dude, what the fuck, man? Those drawings were so funny.
Garmelie, I love you.
The drawings were great. Garmelie, the talking butthole for that brief moment
full
was
Jim
great.
Carrey. It was just I was in Ace Ventura there for a second. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I was really curious how they were going to tackle the sketchbook, but I'm glad they did it the way they did.
They didn't even. I was like, oh, I wonder how they'll adapt that, and they just said exactly the way it was described.
No.
It's like, oh, I really thought they might backpedal a little or something.
Just like a little bit. Yeah.
No. Full on in. Also, we got Ashley Johnson singing in this episode. Pretty sure that outro was Laura Bailey singing. That's tight.
That was awesome.
I hope by the end of this show we get everybody singing at least once. And the outro being like the spooky version of the fun song they were singing halfway through it was fucking tight.
And the sword's destroyed? Question mark?
Yeah, and then like Leslie was saying, the sword destroyed, Craven Edge broken and battered, leading to. I feel like this is going to pull us into the campaign comparisons as we talk about this, right? Because I know that this ends differently in the campaign, but I love that this decision from a writing standpoint of making it something that's more of a character driver than what it is in the campaign. So maybe we'll just spin over that way. Oh, drug trip. I want to talk about the drug trip.
We'll talk about the drug trip and then we'll jump into the comparison.
That was so good. That was so... like not only just changing animation styles, but almost completely flipping out of anything else that I've seen Titmouse do stylistically. Yeah. So wild. Yeah. So good.
It was also like greatly written on a comedic level. Like it's easy to be like drug trip funny, but like coming back out of it and like the rings under their eyes and having completely different experiences. Like, I just feel like shit. I love that like they did the different experiences that like Vex and Keyleth had, because it just felt like every, like Keyleth was like, whoa, I connected on a spiritual level. And it just felt like every music festival I've ever been to and talking to anybody there. So, I loved it. That's all.
Yeah.
I could tell they
love Trinket talking.
Oh, shout out at Cheech, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
2 lines.
2 lines. Hey, in the campaign, Vex and Scanlan and Keyleth, I think, all get the speak with animals ability. So maybe Cheech is around for the long haul. Maybe that is what Trinket sounds like. I don't know.
Be interesting.
They call me 2 Lines Magoo. Anyway.
I felt like they had to have been having a ton of fun with that animation. It was just so wildly different. Feel like if they were pressed for time, this is something that could have been cut a little bit more. I'm glad they didn't. Yeah. But it definitely like didn't need to be as long as it was. That little interlude. But still,
it luxuriated. It was fun. I was glad that it went like that's what made it different to me too, is it's like we're actually in it. Like you were saying earlier, Josh, like the reactions being different and also the depth of the interactions in those moments were like, this is clever because we also described the Feywild as a drug trip previously. Right. So a drug trip from the realm of drug trips is this sort of extra layer of crazy that was great.
Also, for me, it's moments like that, or like the little montage song of like Pike and Scanlan and Grog. Like, it's stuff like that that makes a show like plot is plot. We'll get to it. So having these moments where you just take a second for like something that's actually really fun to watch is always super fun for me. Like, I really liked this episode. It is a part of, for me, as like a fan of Critical Role, the parts of the campaign I always enjoy more, which are less like lore drops and big fights and more like we're dicking around doing some ridiculous stuff that nobody could have anticipated, least of all us, and definitely had like, it captured that like fun, playful D&D vibe that is just hard to capture in a scripted animated series. So
yeah, I think it's a treat that we have 2 long songs back-to-back episodes, right? Or I guess not back-to-back, but
back-to-back if you in their 3 episode drops. No, the song was the last episode.
Was that the last episode?
Yeah.
Oh, well then I was right. So
Scanlan songs.
It's quite a treat to have a long song back-to-back. Such joy. And they were both singing. It was so good. I hate country, but that was great.
That was solid country. That was more in your like Dolly Parton country area, less in your Florida Georgia line. True.
Yeah, it was cute.
Yeah.
But the sword seemed pretty easy to destroy. I mean,
Raven Edge. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is this where we're going to jump into campaign comparisons?
I think we should jump into the campaign differences here. Yeah. Let's do it. I see PJ like just chomping at the microphone.
I know. I'm going to let PJ go first.
So this,
I'm sure it took a lot, but
this episode has so much that's not in the campaign.
So much.
This party split doesn't happen. The way that Craven Edge is dealt with doesn't go down like this at all. Grog never gets like super skinny and immobile. Like, I like that they're using it as the vehicle to sort of spark that relationship between Scanlan and Pike a little bit.
Yeah.
Thinking about it, them in the Feywild, maybe it's fine that these 3 weren't a part of this journey,
Yeah. Well, Pike wasn't in the Feywild.
Right, that's true.
Grog and Scanlan do almost nothing. Grog, I think, fucks a water nymph.
Yeah.
of course.
But
It actually gets kind of important.
Yeah, so maybe we'll have to figure out a way to bring that back. And then, like, Scanlan is one of... Oh, man. Spoilers. Well, we don't know that the show will go this route because they've already changed so much. But in the campaign, returning from the Feywild, you have to, like, roll a Constitution save, or you're, like, memories fucked from that time, and you might just forget any of it happened, basically. And I think that happens to Scanlan, and he's able to like get some of it back, and then he does like some modified memories on other people as their memories are being fucked up, shit like that. But like, it doesn't have any lasting effect on Pike or Scanlan, and it's not like a particularly important arc for Grog. So it does make sense to separate them out in this way. And also with Craven Edge in the campaign, like a big part of the mechanic of it, and we all looked up the mechanic last time and kind of talked about it, is those levels of exhaustion. So having him be like turned super scrawny and unable to stand, like, is a fun way to kind of represent that, I think, even though it is wildly different than what happens in the campaign.
Mm-hmm. How is
it seems to also give him a journey, like a little bit of a journey too, and a place to go, which you can imagine with a barbarian character is something that's often lacking, is like a motivation for change. And like this fallout of Craven's Edge feels like a motivation for change in a positive way.
Find his strength.
Or a reason to adapt. Yeah.
Where does his strength come from?
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, PJ, you were going to say?
How did that arc end in the campaign? I'm trying to remember.
The Craven Edge arc or the Feywild?
The Craven Edge one. Is it a like
pocket dimension, right?
Eventually he used it too much and he failed his con save and he fell over dead.
Right.
And then they revivified him and he had to spend like the next like 10 days recovering one level of exhaustion at a time every long rest. And it was really rough. And they took Craven Edge and threw it in a pocket dimension, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yep.
Which is a lot to explain to non-D&D players in a half-hour episode of a show of like, all right, this is a pocket dimension. If we use this spell, we can put it here. No one can get it unless they have this spell and they know what it is. And seeing as now, I can't speak to this with 100% certainty because I have not seen the last 2 episodes of the original campaign. It is just like the final fight with Vecna and the like wrap up episode. And I'm waiting for a friend. We're going to watch those together. He's on episode like 102 or something. But I don't think Craven Edge ever really comes back. So just destroying it makes sense plot wise, so that people aren't like sitting there like, but Craven Edge is in the pocket dimension. What are they going to do with that? Because if you leave threads like that in a show and then you don't pay them off, it's different than in a campaign where it's just you understand that that's how campaigns work.
That's fair.
People will be like, what the fuck? There was all of these threads left open that they didn't wrap up. It's like Game of Thrones season 8 all over again. So giving it something a bit more final, knowing it doesn't come back, good way to do it.
Yeah, I'm down with that.
My only wish is that they let it ride for a little bit longer, but I get that like that's the pace of the show. They got to move fast. So.
Yeah, I didn't expect to, even in the last set of episodes, see the conclusion to the violence happen as quickly as it did versus the introduction of like the violent tendencies, then to this, right? Like that's a very quick, 4 episode really kind of seeing that manifest, and it's good that it happened. I think that that's logical, but it was quick.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting because it is a show for like clearly for adults, and we're used to like
the 3P9.
Yeah. And adult entertainment, we're used to kind of slower burn plot points that really build up. But this is moving at like an Avatar pace,
True.
Like Aang will be like, I don't want to kill anybody and spend 2 episodes talking about it. And then it gets resolved with like him learning why he doesn't have to kill anybody. Like, it is that like animation pace, but just with adult content. So it's like, it can be a little jarring on the 2 of them, but they're managing it very well, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, I think PJ originally has painted this for me because I don't know exactly how long the Chroma Conclave arc is in terms of episodes, but it's like 50 episodes, right? 50, 60, like most of the campaign, right?
It's a lot.
Something
before
like
it gets
between
entirely
40
resolved,
and 50, I think. Yeah, it is significant.
It's a lot of content to cut down. Any other campaign comparisons that you guys had in your head? Like you said, it seemed like this was mostly invented for the show, so that makes this even more interesting.
Yeah, all of the Feywild is truncated and
cute. It's a first. Anyway.
The little bark in the background. Sorry about that.
Yeah. No, it's the first time I've heard a bark, too.
Yeah.
His ball is under the couch. He's quite upset about it.
Gotcha. But it's kind of par for the course, right? Like they have to truncate things. So they're just kind of, they're already to Singorn, which was a few episodes of travel. And they knew
the Fey realm
it was
hates
there.
facts.
I think they knew it would be there when they first traveled.
I believe so.
So we'll see. We'll see what happens with that.
I would say also within that, like a lot of the stuff they took out of the Fey realm, if I remember correctly, is like not very important stuff, but is kind of Grog centric. So it makes sense that they would kind of montage past that because there's like the water nymph thing, and then there's, and I hope I'm not mixing stuff up with campaign 2, but I believe there's like a werewolf clan and a fairy clan that they're like dealing with for a while.
Is that campaign 1 or campaign 2?
I know Travis is super into werewolves, and I think that's like the first time it gets brought up. And Grog kind of is like considering being a werewolf for a second there. And then like nothing really comes of that. They just kind of like get out of that situation and bounce.
Right.
And then they end up in Singorn, which they knew was there in the campaign. And that's the major like plot points that they skip over, but like I don't think it would have made for great television unless they had like 22 episodes per season or something like that, and could kind of like afford these like less driven episodes. PJ's deep in thought. Is that campaign 2 where they meet the fairies and the Lycans?
I can't remember.
Well, luckily, we're talking about campaign 1 and the Fey realm. So why does the Fey realm hate Vax? What is that about?
Ooh. Yeah. Okay. So this feels like a thing that you guys can't touch on. So this is a great kind of. We can maybe transition into a little bit of predictions here. I think it's because of the Matron of Ravens thing, right? But it's clearly a manifestation of like the Fey realm is a realm of life or like of a different nature, and it rejects the gods in its own way. Maybe not all the gods, but at the very least. A champion of the Matron of Ravens.
I don't remember this being a plot point at all, and I think that they go to the Fey realm before. Maybe they don't. I can't remember.
No, they go to the Fey realm after
after
that because there's some plot points within the Fey realm that stem from Percy's guilt,
right,
over getting Vex killed. But yeah, I don't remember like it's attacking Vax as a plot point at all. I do remember
so it must be
that
connecting it to something else.
Well, I remember there being
later.
plants and grass that are like reactionary to your mood, like they did in this. It was kind of different, and they definitely were going after Vax because this is like the emo Vax arc. Like Liam plays him so emo, I was like over it by the time he actually finds happiness again. I'm like, wow, this is depressing. But it wasn't. It was like a throwaway one combat thing, so it's fun to like see them kind of taking that and rolling with it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we can't speak to it, not because of spoilers, but because it's new.
Okay.
Sure.
And then like that whole city is in the Fey realm, and then that character said that it just kind of showed up. So I'm interested to see like I guess this would be a prediction part, so I'll save it. Or are we in predictions?
Yeah, we're there pretty much. We're chatting about. Yeah.
My prediction for why the city is here, I can only think of like someone kind of like pocket dimension we were talking about earlier. Like maybe someone was like, this city sucks. I'm going to banish this whole city to this crazy ass realm. Have fun, kids. Have fun, everybody. But I don't know. It's kind of weird. Or maybe the elves, because elves are stingy, were like, we don't want to be a part of this human. Well, I guess it's not a human world, but we don't want to be a part of this world. And they left, or like Greyhaven style. I don't know.
I think I'm with you. I think I'm with you on the second one. And I would go so far as to say like Vex and Vax's dad was such an asshole that he was like, I can't even be on the same plane as you, and took the whole city with him.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, that's the ultimate spite, is like, you don't have a home anymore? Goodbye.
See you later.
That's the ultimate bad dad.
Interesting. Yeah. And I'm sure the characters will get back together at some point. Maybe. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it seems like they're going to go through this city and those three characters will just not see it. So I guess it's fine. Yeah, they're going to go through the waterfalls and get a bow and arrow. Maybe.
Oh, I was going to say there was a pretty dope 2 reference.
Yeah, I was about to ask. Did you hear that one word?
Which one? I'm excited to see if that starts popping up more.
What was the word? You don't have to.
Yeah, well, Josh already spoiled it for me by saying it to me right when it happened. So,
God damn it, do it for me. I've watched so much of Campaign 2. I just don't know.
How much of Campaign 2?
God,
Garneely said a word.
When Garnelia was speaking, all I was thinking was Pippin. So, like, I was in a different world, plane of existence.
I'll give you one more hint, and it's Garneely says he is but a something, and that's up to you if you want to figure out what that means.
Oh, he's one of okay. So I'm at the point where that's like a question with what's his name. We'll talk about it. Okay, yeah. I think I understand. For the record, the Fey Realm werewolves do happen in season 1 or campaign 1. The Fendir, and they are in the Fey Realm, episode 61.
That was such a fun like sub arc. It's like the politics of the fairies versus the werewolves was
wow,
hilarious, but like really deep.
Really great, really deep. Doesn't affect the plot at all or any of the characters, so I see why they took it out. But I hope they give us a little something of some werewolves or fairies later on.
I mean, they've been doing enough references to little things, like maybe. I know, Josh, you probably just forgot that this came up, but you were cracking up when Scanlan was like, Keyleth really has got to learn her spells. Sucks at learning her spells.
Ray, but yeah, a constant in one is Marisha Ray does not know how all of her spells work, and Matt is like extra hard on her because they're together. You know, it's just like learn your spells is like you could do a super cut of Matt being like gotta learn your spells, and whenever he's like being mean.
Yeah,
fun stuff. Fun stuff. And she deserves it half the time. I mean, there's a certain goldfish scene.
Yeah.
I hope that shows up.
It's gotta.
Has
It's
to.
gotta. All right.
Nice
Should we go
chroma
watch
conflict.
episode 2? Because I
Let's go
need
watch
it.
episode 2.
Let's do it.
All right.
/ episode 8, Echo Tree.
So
we'll see you
excited.
on the other
Episode
side.
3.2.
3.2. All right, we're into episode 8, Echo Tree.
Oh, yeah. For the summary.
Echo.
In the Fey realm, Vox Machina unexpectedly discovers the city of Singorn and meets Vax and Vex's father. After the emotional encounter, Vox Machina journeys deeper into the Fey realm, searching for the next vestige of divergence, the Fenthrasbo. To acquire it, they must confront an ancient and powerful archfey. Meanwhile, back in Taldore, Scanlan and Pike attempt to nurse Grog back to health. Dun dun dun.
Bum, bum, bum.
The most
First
Demon
reaction.
Slayer ass episode I've ever seen. So
So
cool. Love this one.
This one was great. Yeah.
I never expected that Henry Winkler would be in an episode of Demon Slayer, but
So hot. I would have been like, that's okay. I will be with you.
oh yeah,
Tree guy.
Leslie would have saundered it up right away.
Saundered.
Take
Ooh,
me away.
Saundered and bothered. Yeah.
I know her type, and it's hot, edgy, emo tree boys.
Yeah, that's me. Yeah, this is a
no.
good one.
It's so good. I also loved Troy Baker being, again, typecasted as Daddy Issue Generators, the character, because, like, that is Troy Baker,
Yep.
right? Like,
Yeah.
he does it in the Dota show, Dragon's Blood, which, if
Okay.
you haven't seen, by the way, is wonderful. Oh, my God, so good. Only 3 seasons. It was excellent. Animated by the people that did Korra.
Nice.
Yeah,
Well,
they were the same group that did Korra.
This is
So
some of the people
Titmouse
that did
didn't
Korra.
do Korra.
Oh,
Yeah, so
okay.
it is, but it is the same art department it's the same carryover art department from studio to studio, kinda.
Okay.
They just work on the same
Yeah.
project. So it's got the same stylings. It feels like an Avatar adjacent show. Anyway, highly recommend it. But in that, obviously in The Last of Us, obviously, I mean, the Joker is like type A, daddy
Yeah.
issues generator. Where else do we go with this? Oh, here, yeah. With Slidor, right?
Sildor, yeah.
Sildor, so close. Yeah.
Wait, what?
No, wait, no.
place?
Sondor is the
Sonder
the
is
Sondor's
not the
the
dad.
guy.
is the evil
Saunders,
one.
the
Evil
archfey.
demon.
Yeah, isn't it?
Sil
Isn't it
something.
Sildor?
It's Sildor. Yeah, it's Sildor. It's Sildor.
Okay, all right.
Just-
I'm not-
I don't know.
all right.
Hey, Matt Mercer,
Oh,
maybe
fucking
make
no.
your names more different.
Oh my god.
Hey, yeah. Matt has dad issues. Clearly, I mean, like,
Mhm.
if we've learned anything over the course of
Um,
don't we all? All right.
Matt Dad is
Oh,
just
damn.
a chill guy who plays guitar in Hawaii. He used to. I don't think he realized it at the time, but we've like figured it out since. He used to play guitar as like a gigging just like ambient guitar guy at the restaurant our friend Tim worked at when he lived in Hawaii. So,
It's pretty
Matt
cool.
Mercer's
I don't know.
dad is Jack Johnson.
yeah, pretty much. Matt Mercer's dad is like Jack Johnson with probably, I assume, more silly voices.
Just different variations of banana pancakes. Like, that's all he plays.
Plantain waffles. Yummy.
Bits. All right.
Yeah,
So Leslie's like,
I have nothing
we don't
to
have
add
math art,
here.
but Crossland is filling in
Yeah,
just fine.
yeah, you're
So-
doing great. Keep it going.
And BJ.
5 more.
5 more minutes of bits. No, I really like this episode front to back. I mean, I actually was so enraptured by it that I usually like take notes so that I have things to like talk about or bring up. But I took down 2 sentences, and one of them was the daddy issues joke. Bug suppository of strength and fighting an archfey with a vestige was real cool.
Yeah.
Those are my 3
Dude.
notes on the whole episode because I was just in it. Like, oh,
I have never
Loved
felt better to choose an archer as my D&D character right now because that whole like fight
Badass.
sequence was so cool.
mhm.
And now Vex has
Mhm.
that. So
Yeah.
that's cool.
That's a dope bow.
It is,
cool.
and we gotta wait for the campaign comparison. But I want to point out a few things I saw that it was really cool to see.
Yeah, I have something to touch on as well about that. But man,
yeah.
God, it's so good.
I mean, again, like I think we've said this many a time throughout the episodes, but like animation top notch. It's impossible to go without like acknowledging the art department and how they pull off this story. And I think that like this was a random thought that came to me in this episode, but a lot of like you tear down story, or like after being exposed to so many stories, you're like, oh, this is how the sausage is made. And I keep thinking with animation that it's so different because the sausage is constructed by a bunch of different artists working together in different ways to like manufacture. And it's just so different from most other mediums that also makes it so entertaining. And it removes me from my usual, like, I'm going to pick this apart sort of attitude. And I hate that I have that, but at the same time, I love that I get to escape it here in animation. So
yeah. And it's super fun to see, like, from the last episode to this episode, like, the Sondor Fenthras fight was very stylized in a different kind of style than the show is always. Like, it had that Demon Slayer vibe and with the music, too, in a certain way. And it's just so different than the drug trip in last episode. And it's cool to see them, like, within the already set style without, like, feeling jarring, playing with all these other, like, types and feels of action and animation. And I'm super into it. It's like it all looks like Legend of Vox Machina, but it's just like they're really good at like this feels different than this, and it keeps it exciting. So,
dude, Keyleth jumping through the trees with the portal as like a fire elemental,
tree striding through the tree enemies was fucking tight. Pretty sure that wasn't in the campaign, but
yeah, that was
cool.
Smart. Yeah, sure, Keyleth wouldn't think to do that in the campaign. So it's too complicated and badass.
No,
I don't know.
Marisha probably asked, can I tree stride through them and like hurt them from the inside? And Matt was like, technically these are aberrations, not trees.
Fair.
And when they were going to write this, it's like D&D rules don't really apply, right? Cool, because we're legally distinct. Yes. All right, sweet. So I can do this. Yeah. PJ was very quiet for our legally distinct jokes at the top of the other episode.
Right.
So.
I edited that episode, so
he did edit it. Yeah.
Yeah. Super cool. Up.
Yeah.
As the trees.
No, the grandpa.
Oh, Pop.
I
immediately went to campaign too. I was like, Beauregard? What?
No.
Yeah, Pop.
To me,
man.
Yeah.
Leslie, talk about Pop. Henry Winkler. A man.
I liked that little sequence. I don't know what they put in his butt, but seems like Grog didn't really get better. I guess releasing the curse, quote unquote. Like, I mean, this stuff never happened. You guys are saying in the campaign, so
yeah,
I'm sure they're just
I
putting
loved
stuff
the bug
in.
suppository. Like that was neat to me. It was a good way to introduce the character, I'm sure, and like give again. There's this like overarching thing of like contextualizing backstories with some of these characters. You guys off air were even mentioning the prequel comics, right?
Yeah.
I'd heard that while I was dealing with my ice issue, pouring my whiskey drink. But yeah, I think now is probably a good point to reach into the campaign comparisons because like this episode is great. Like watch the episode again. Like there's your review. Like do it again.
Yeah, Grog with that stinger at the end. Like, oh yeah, my uncle killed me with them. That
does get to my herd question. Yeah.
To lead into this sort of segment, I'd actually like to ask what your thoughts are on Garmelie. Did you feel like his arc was satisfying? Did it feel sort of short and unfulfilled?
Are you asking?
I feel like I'm attributing a lot of my feelings of Garmelie from from campaign 1. That there's just a lot that doesn't happen in this show, so I'm not sure if his mark is made quite as well as I feel like it should be. So
yeah, I feel like that character could have been stronger in the, like it probably could have did a little more, but again, like this show's moving so fast that it's hard for like any character to really make an impact, But,
yeah, outside of the main core, I totally agree with you. I think that the one thing that I would add to that is like, or one of the things that I would add to that is that it felt like he was the guide, right? And that at the same time he wasn't willing to commit to fights, and that was his purpose and place in the story, and I didn't see much more than that outside of like maybe a little bit of a trickster god, and so it like gave some of that energy, and then the transformation at the end makes it clear that he is a trickster, right? I have additional information there that I'm not going to bring up in the show in case anyone hasn't watched later episode seasons, stuff like that, but I felt like that was satisfying in its own way of encapsulating a trickster energy, but I don't know if that's what the arc was in campaign 1. Leslie, I'm sorry I cut you off.
No, I had nothing. That was it. Okay. Yeah, it's he was the guide. He was funny. And I wish I could have seen more of the sketches that he drew.
I do wish they went back to the sketchbook more.
Yeah.
Like when they're talking about like the fight and like being really impressed, it would have been cool to like see the fight, but with like some dicks on it in the sketchbook. You know what I mean? Being like, this is the most entertained I've been all week. And he pulls out the sketchbook again and it's like Vex shooting bows, but they're arrows, but they're penises. I don't know. That could have been funny.
Yeah. So on brand of that sort of trickster energy, one of the big cruxes of the campaign is that he promises to help guide them for a cost, and they sort of turn that on its head and trick him into like fulfilling that promise. And that was just such a like a point of mutual respect that was earned that like just is entirely excised from this story. So I felt like the existence of Garmelie in this story is very important, but at the same time, not that fulfilling for me.
It's almost perfunctory in a way. Like it is really just meant. It is kind of like a minimum reflection of.
I mean, with the transformation at the end, I think like maybe you're supposed to go through that whole Fey Realm sequence. Like, oh, this is just a random side character. And then he transformed. He's like, all right, be safe, everybody. Like, oh, okay, he's going to come back. This is going to be important later. Of course, I know more because Josh has told me so many things. But it'll like help the general audience be like, okay, yeah, this is... Maybe I'll try to mental note that. Of course, they'll forget it immediately, but...
Yeah, I could have definitely... I would have been down for more Garmelie. I would have... As I kind of mentioned in the last reflection, like, I would love to have seen the werewolves and the pixies. At least we got the pixie mention very briefly. No, you don't want to go around. That's where the pixies are. We're not going to deal with that. It's like, okay, that's nice. But yeah, I think the moment of kind of outsmarting the genie, if you will, is a really cool moment that feels a little bit like it's missing. I wish we had more time to really just grip on and squeeze everything we could out of Garmelie. I mean, he really has a stranglehold on a lot of the fans. Just really... I mean,
oh, fuck.
I get a little choked up thinking about it. So
I don't know what you're referencing, but
if you know, you know. All right.
That would have been so good.
I mean, it's coming. It's coming.
Yeah, I hope so.
I 100% believe it will. It has to. Mm-hmm. Well, that doesn't happen till.
You're right.
The very end. The very end.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So. Anyways, you guys are still here?
Oh, yes. Hi, Noob's here. Yeah. Hey, what's going on?
Yeah. Noob's in the room. What other campaign comparisons did you guys have? You were talking about the fight scene that you wanted to make mention of, right?
I want to ask something about the gift from Percy to Vex, the little arrow thing. Like, was that in the campaign, and did she actually kill him with that? Like, kill the demon guy with that?
I don't.
Percy bakes a lot of shit.
Does he give people a lot? Like,
okay. Sometimes. That's hard to get. Items are hard to keep track of.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, so like, I guess my main question is
memorable plot point. If it was
okay, like destroying that character, I assume it was badass in the campaign, but it just didn't go down like that. Probably
someone got enough hit points of damage, and then said, "How do you want to do this?"
Okay,
yeah, it was almost a full episode of combat.
Yeah, yeah, so much. So yeah, I mean, that's the one thing that this show has really done well. The only thing that they've done well so far, I think. One of the many things that this show has done very well is make D&D combat interesting. Mm-hmm. I'm a huge fan of D&D, but wowzers, is it a lot of, well, whoever gets the final number gets to have a cool moment, and then a lot of big number rolling. So it's hard to... I tune out a lot in the combat, in the campaigns. I'll admit that. So maybe.
Interesting.
Maybe she did that.
I am so... This gets into like a different conversation, which we can have after we finish this point. Yeah.
Oh, and a prediction that we kind of sort of got right. The city was teleported away because elves are stingy and they're like, nope, I'm out.
Dragons.
See you later. Good luck. Let me know how it goes.
I do love it's like I know that there's like a very mechanical explanation to it in the campaign. Like it's a whole thing. But I love that moment of like whenever like a new Marvel movie's coming out and the concept is kind of out there and I'm like, how are they gonna work that into like the current canon? Like that feels like that'll be really hard to explain in a satisfactory way. And then it's just one character says like one line and you're like, actually I can sure. They kinda had that like how the fuck did the city get here? And we're all these theories and then they're like in the show like, yeah, they can make it leave whenever there's danger. And there was danger. Oh, yeah. Honestly, I'm cool with that.
Oh
Adds up.
That works.
So
Peace out, Girl Scout. Yeah, that's entirely. I love that we did make that prediction. I am sad that I was a little bit wrong on the like it not being about disappointed dad, but I am glad that we got the disappointed dad. You know what I mean? Like I got that
full on
naturally. Yeah.
So
I didn't expect it to be Troy Baker, as mentioned before, though. That was a great little spin for me where I'm like, themes. All right.
to tie a couple points together, Garmeli's ask of them is to give him one of the threshold crests, which is the sort of sigils that surround Singorn that allow it to be teleported.
Oh.
So his ask is to essentially give him one of those. Like steal one of those for him.
And they're like these massive like magical stones that are like embedded in the city.
The wall of the city, yeah.
I don't remember exactly how they outsmart him, but they just give him something that technically fulfills it.
They draw a crest on the threshold of a door frame.
Right. And he's like, well, that is a threshold crest. Shit.
Clever.
So yeah, that would have been fun to get. We didn't get a lot. Well, without Scanlan there, we couldn't have gotten a lot of the disguise shenanigans that happen in Singorn. That shit's fun. But, it keeps the story moving along. And
yeah, they were like in and out of Singorn. I was like, all right, well,
yeah,
that was cool city.
I feel like there's moments. Yeah, it definitely goes fast. But also in the campaign, they're not there very long. They're there for like half of one episode, basically. I think.
Mm-hmm. It might be a couple episodes because they go through the entire thing with the captain and the hats and the...
Yeah. But every time I remember bits like that, I'm like, was that 2 episodes or was that just 10 funny minutes? I really can't remember.
Yeah,
I mean, if you have a lot of combat to get through.
It might have just been like part of one episode. But slight, subtle change. The twins knew their younger sister. Like, and
or they knew of her. I don't know if they had... I think they
knew her. Because she would like imitate them and play like Vex and Vax and be like sneaking around and
I have a feeling because it's like it would make sense that they don't want to duplicate certain plot beats, which does kind of happen in D&D a lot. So I'm curious to see if a thing that I was subtly mentioning earlier to PJ in a fun way, if that is almost worked out in a way where they trick Garmeli or Artagan, so you kind of get the same payoff, but it's not like duplicated. I've noticed them kind of taking like payoffs and putting them somewhere else. Like huge swerve. It's interesting. We still haven't met like Dr. Dranzel or Kaylee,
right?
But I assume we will. But they're just kind of moving it to make sure that like that emotional beat is where it needs to be for that character, rather than it just happened here because that's how D&D works, So I'm curious to see if it's hard to make judgments.
They're making relevant things.
Arc is done. Exactly.
Yeah. They're trying to make things as far as I can understand. It seems like they're trying to make things relevant to the show in the moment. And so what that means is that you're sacrificing some of these side interactions that could happen. The one example that I can think of that's outside of that is meeting the black powder guy, of whom is kind of looming in the background in my mind still of like, when are we gonna go back?
He's such an unimportant character. He's just fun to make Matthew the voice.
Right.
He literally exists for the sake of Percy being able to get supplies for for his tinkering. And it was a throwaway character that they all latched onto, so he like.
And I do believe in the campaign, Victor is how they find out that Ripley's alive.
Yep.
Which is like the major plot point you need Victor for. I hope they go back just because he's fun, but
I'm sure they will.
He always has fewer and fewer like hands and pieces every time they go back.
Digits blows them off.
What are you guys' predictions?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I guess we're not going back to Syngorn because Vex isn't ready to talk to Dad yet, I guess. So, yeah, whatever.
Not ready for Daddy. You know, can't front that.
But I assume that we're going to, what is that place? West Run or?
West Run.
West Run next. And they'll all meet up and be like, hey, we got the bow. And they'll be like, wow, that's awesome, man. And then move right along. So,
and Grog's going to be like, I can't lift things.
And then they're like, damn.
Damn,
maybe
sad.
Grog will
soft.
figure out where his strength comes from this episode. Because he can't
Wouldn't
be
it
without muscles that long.
True.
Right?
That could be interesting. I think that's going to be a whole thing, though.
It's going to be a Grog episode.
If I had to paint a prediction for the season, I don't feel like this is going to resolve in the next episode, but for the season, I feel like we're going in the direction that we're going. One of the things that we're going to get is at least the confrontation with Brazil. It feels like that's going to wrap up before the end of the season, if any dragon. And I feel like they'll want to pin the season on a dragon. So I think I'm Brazil. And I think that Grog will get his strength back when he finds that he doesn't need his conventional strength, but instead the strength of his friends, and then seizes the gauntlets from his uncle. There you go.
There you go. And then the gauntlets give him strength. He's like, actually, fuck that thought. Gauntlets is what gives me strength.
Just like Spook. All right.
Because it's
and
not
he'll
how
kill
it
his
happened in the
uncle.
campaign,
I
I want to make some predictions. They've been throwing some fun stuff where like abilities that characters had from other items or from like class features, they're attributing those to the vestiges to kind of make it make sense why like these people are fucking superheroes rather than just like they have a lot of XP, you know?
Yes.
I do wonder if the gauntlets will be involved in restoring Grog's physical strength. It would make some plot sense. I also, on just a format of the show prediction, I almost suggest if we're going to do one of these for the last 3 episodes, we watch all 3 and then just do one long discussion. I really think those last 3 episodes are going to play like a movie.
Oh boy, I'm going to need to take some notes then.
I have a feeling as well that it's going to be kind of similar, so I would think that there may be a chance that we do. We'll talk about format on that one. Maybe at the end
you
of
guys,
this, but
do what you want. But my prediction is that
I have no problem. Yeah,
those last 3 episodes are just going to be like one long.
My prediction is Josh is going to watch them on Thursday and not tell us about it, regardless, all at once.
No, Leslie won't let me.
No.
I guess I'm watching it without Leslie too. Have fun at work on Thursday.
Watch it while I'm at work on Friday.
Yeah. No, I won't.
So
I'll be good.
Before we jump into the next episode, I have a prediction, and it ties into what Josh was bringing up before. I think Dr. Dranzel and Kaylee show up this episode, maybe right away, with Scanlan, Pike, and Grog drinking away their sorrows. I think that's
actually a great spot to put it.
Yep.
Okay.
Mm.
Yeah, I do think that they would have. I feel like they got to introduce them like by the end of the season, because I know that the Chroma Conclave is going to go multiple seasons, but I feel like we need the introduction this season.
That's a long arc to pay off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Sure. Right. I wanted to end this on the conversation note that I put a pin in a minute ago, which is a little bit more of an actual play thing. So if you don't care, skip this. Fascinating comparison. I also have a problem or have difficulty with Critical Role's combat over Dimension 20's combat. And I think that is because a lot of the hits ascribed that Matt gives are like just small beats and then a big payoff, right? When you hit the killing blow in some way, shape, or form, versus Brennan in combat is consistently narrating those things and giving every action weight and description.
I agree and disagree in one way. Sure. I think the biggest difference, because if you listen to the combats in Critical Role could last 5 hours.
Yeah. They have. I've just watched one yesterday. Yep.
I think Matt has like all of the major important beats within the combat really well described with weight. And there's a bunch of shit that
by the way,
really
I'm
matter.
not saying that he doesn't do a good job.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
Which I think comes down to the real point of why Dimension 20's combat is so much more interesting and fun to watch.
It's edited.
It's edited.
There's also that.
Heavily edited.
Yeah, sure, you're right. Yeah.
Dimension 20 episodes are like an hour and a half, baby.
Which is why you should check out Catacomb Party Sales Con, because it is heavily edited.
Heavily edited.
Our combats are 30 minutes.
Yep, exactly. So I think that is a huge part of it. Like,
sure.
Critical Role's whole point is we're playing D&D and you're watching it, whereas Dimension 20 is like we're using D&D to make an entertaining show. You know.
So my pushback there is that the Calamity combat was spicier than any of the combat done in any other season of Critical Role, right? It still had more flavor and punch. It did take longer, which is clearly an advantage of Dimension 20, which is why I was trying to specify Brendan Lee Mulligan versus Matt Mercer. And I think that's just because of how much he tries to make everything as colorful as he possibly can. I think it has to do with the fact that he's done this for kids for so long, because that's a part of his whole thing is like teaching kids how to do this.
Yeah.
So I think that he kind of like layers that in.
That's definitely possible. I also, thinking back to Calamity, only remember like maybe 3 rounds of actual combat.
I mean, they were all very high level. So
yeah, it is a lot of high intensity role play.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a lot of combat in Calamity, but yeah,
no, there's 3 combats, I think.
There's a lot of
in the whole
damage taken and things like that, but
there's
I would
some
say
like initiative rolls that are not combats.
Yeah, initiative rolling through like multiple rounds where everybody goes more than once.
I think there's 3 or 4. That final episode is a blur for me, where I just like I don't even.
And that's not a bad thing.
I know PJ
Honestly,
hasn't finished it yet.
That's a huge attribution to like Brendan Lee Mulligan being able to make role play feel like combat. You know, like it's huge. So.
To stack onto that, I feel like Dimension 20 and Brendan Lee Mulligan in general, compared to the cast of Critical Role, are like much more cognizant of the idea of consuming this audio only. Whereas most of Critical Role's combat, it's I want to move here, and they've got like laser pointers, and they're like they're describing where they're moving on the map without actually referencing the map very much, which is something that I feel like we've done a pretty good job of trying to keep in mind. Like we'll still slip up quite a bit
for sure,
but like I feel like we tend to keep that on our minds, that like this is a podcast and people don't see the maps like we see them, and we have to keep it like understandable for listeners, as opposed to people that are like watching the live stream and like seeing the camera of the map.
And you end up with a lot more interesting description from that. So that's definitely a big part of it. Also, I think like Dimension 20 is on, and I know we're not just talking about Dimension 20, we're talking about Brennan in general, but Brennan's style is developed by the practice that he gets, you know? And Dimension 20 is on a network that is not about D&D, it is about entertainment. So the whole point of Dimension 20 is to be a narrative, an entertaining improv-based narrative, which is what they make. Whereas Critical Role, whenever I feel like they get too focused on being narrative and entertaining, they lose me. Whenever they just are dice goblins fucking around and playing D&D like friends, I get back in. I mean, we've talked about this even recently in Campaign 3. Like, I just started getting back into it because, like, we had so much lore and plot and character, and then they just started like dicking around a casino and then like tried to avoid a combat by pretending like they were shooting a porno in a basement. And I was like, hey, we're back, baby. So not to say like shows like Dimension 20, they are not absolute fucking goblins of chaos, because they are. But whenever the intention is different, like one, you really want to feel that this is just people at a table playing a game, and one, you really want to feel like these are master craftsmen, improv storytellers. And it's just things.
The shows are going for different things too. So as is Catacomb Party, which is, you know, we do improv it all, but we edit it to make it, you know.
Well, Catacomb Party is mostly going for money. We really everything we go off of is just 100% about making another million. We're all millionaires anyways, as it is. Yeah, we're completely 100% on Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro's side. We support them with fully.
Wait, back up. Wait. Hasbro has to give us some money before we would ever claim something egregious like that, because Daddy Atomic Pylon has spent some money on Catacomb Party this month. So that said, you can join the Words and Whiskey Patreon at patreon.com/Words and Whiskey Show. You'd fuel all of the other shows that we do, because where do we funnel the money? Into the rest of Atomic Pylon. Join the Patreon, please. Thanks. All right, cool. With that, let's go to episode 9. We'll see you in a second. So, episode 9, A Test of Pride. PJ.
Knowing that the Titanstone knuckles are in the city of Westrun, Pike and Scanlan come up with a plan to get them from their current owner, Grog's uncle Kevdak. But Grog, weakened by Craven Edge's curse and haunted by his last encounter with his uncle, questions whether he is strong enough of mind or body to confront Kevdak.
This gives me the immediacy of that end gives me the same vibe that our own part 1 finale did, in where I just want the next fucking episode right now. Like, I got shivers at the confrontation. I was ready to go, and I'm so excited for night when I inevitably watch all of them.
Okay, good. I mean, should we all just stay up real late on Thursday?
No. I think what we do instead is we watch them, and then we have notes, and then we talk about the notes. We'll do it like a conventional Words and Whiskey episode to some degree. We'll figure that out. But yeah, it feels like it's all going to roll into a conclusion as they all group up.
Yeah.
I love this episode's focus on never cutting back to Vex and
God, you're right.
The Feywild Squad.
Wow.
Like, we never do, and I didn't even notice because I was just so engrossed in the story in Westrun.
And the past 2 episodes have been very heavily the Percy Vex Vax Keyleth crew.
Mm-hmm.
So
but it has always had the B plot. I was expecting a B plot.
Just a little bit of this, but it's cool to just to all right, now we're honed in, we're focused. I didn't expect to get emotional and kind of tear up to Grog's story. I love Grog,
oh my God.
but yeah, they adapted that so well, because this is around the time in the campaign I started caring about Grog, but I never I never hit that hard. I feel like that was good. That was good stuff.
So was that Pike or Pike's
that was Pike.
Parent or something? Okay, she said grandpa, and I thought she didn't know how Grog got there, or at least that's what it was kind of given.
She didn't
off.
know Grog tried to kill Grandpa Wilhelm. She just know Grandpa Wilhelm was like, "Hey, gotta help me! I found this guy. He's dying."
Oh, okay, I see. She just knew that he saved him from that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, got it. That was so cute. We love baby characters.
Oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that origin and baby characters, right? All of it. All of this episode, it was kind of what we had mentioned as predictions at the end of the last episode, or at the very least, that I was like, I think this is where the season is going. I'm glad that it didn't culminate in this episode. I was actually kind of afraid that it was going to. I was like, oh God, there'd be so much to squeeze in, considering we also have this B plot with Scanlan introducing, oh God, what's her name? Kaylee, yeah.
Which you were right. We did get her this
great.
episode. Whoever predicted that was across PJ.
Yep, that was me.
PJ, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yep.
Oh, is that the character we've been waiting to see? Or one of them?
One of them.
Yep, that is Kaylee
great.
and Dr. Dranzel and the band. Yeah.
Great, okay.
I did not. This is the first part of this show where I am disappointed by the adaptation of it.
Really?
Oh, really?
Yes.
We should talk about that in the campaign comparisons for sure, because I feel like that's the point to bring up a little bit of a critical feedback, as it were, on Critical Role's Legend of Vox Machina. But yeah, what other reactions do you have?
Okay, so the intro to the episode, just all of them coming in and savagely murdering all of those people. Just to remind you, it is not for children. It's 18 plus show. It's really graphic.
It was very graphic, and then on top of that, the thing that got me is the kids that Grog kills on the roof that shoot him. The girl looks a lot like Vex. If you look a little bit closely to the facial features, it feels reminiscent of them, to kind of give it this energy of killed potential heroes or people in the world. And that hurt. It makes you feel also like Grog's pain on the other side of that too, where it's I didn't understand fully. I was in a cult, quote, but
There's the opening shot, like having the cornfield, made me think that was going to be a different scene.
Yep.
And I'm almost happy it wasn't there.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you reacted immediately and then didn't say anything after. So I was like, oh, you knew something.
Yeah, I'm glad that didn't end up the way that I was thinking. I had the same thought. Totally.
Oh.
Okay.
So
watch out for cornfields, everybody.
Yeah. I did also want to bring up the confrontation that happened between Scanlan and Pike, that like interpersonal moment as they're talking with each other. There's this brief flash of Scanlan, of whom has not been able to be pushed to any kind of extreme in terms of emotional reaction from anyone else. He's generally getting that from other people, where he blushes when she gets up close in his face. And it's a blink and you miss it, like 2-frame thing. And I was like, well done.
Shit's cute.
As I was watching that.
Shit's cute.
Yeah, very cute. Yep.
I hope they end up together one day. We'll see.
I
feel like this is the only relationship that I don't know if there's any payoff to. But
there's so much I want to talk about, but I really, really want to know PJ's thoughts on campaign stuff.
Yeah,
so I know that we have so much more to talk about, but I think we just got to jump into it.
Anything else? Anything else? My brain's trying so hard to go back and think.
We were talking about the brutality in the original scene. I got like Battle of the Bastards vibes almost immediately as they came out. The neck snap being the first thing, like reaching out of the grass and then grabbing the woman and snapping the neck with one hand. It was like a one-handed neck snap is a lot. Like a two-hand, like you gotta throw some weight around, but like a one-handed like crunch on a wrist grab.
They do a real good job making the herd menacing and those knuckles fucking scary.
Beating up his son in the end in the same way that's reminiscent of Grog. Anyone who challenges him and he doesn't care if they're family or not, almost gives an interesting, like, not only power, strength, corruption angle to those, but it mirrors Craven Edge in a weird way. You know what I mean? Like, the fists almost mirror the way that power and strength can corrupt like Craven Edge did. And I, like, latched into that in my head immediately. But that could just be the user, too, which is the other side of it. Like, now that Grog's grown, really when he gets them, you know.
And I really love the connection to Avatar The Last Airbender in the end. How it's the main guy was like, yeah, even my son I'll hurt and you know, bow down to the Storm Lord, right? Quotations I'm doing.
Or
the Fire Lord. It's the same thing. Right. I just love this readaptation of Avatar. It's like so cool.
Really love it when Grog challenges Kevdak to an Agni Kai.
Yeah, it's so cool. I can't wait for the sister to just show up out of nowhere.
That's just going to mess up everyone. All right. I think it's time for PJ for campaign because PJ is biting to say something that is on the top of his mind before he can talk about anything else. And I think it related to the band.
It was. There's just so many little changes to this meeting that I feel like cut out a lot of the emotional and like understanding of these like interpersonal characters, like of these interactions that like I don't know how they'll go back and add those back in a meaningful way, if that makes sense.
If one of the things you're referring to is like the flirtatious element, I'm kind of glad they downplayed that. But,
true, but because we're already sort of seeing a turn in Scanlan's sort of interactions in general, so that makes sense. They excised the idea that Scanlan was a part of this band to begin with.
They did take that out, which does
this was his old band.
I wish.
Okay.
I wish he was like, Dranzel, what the hell are you doing here? And they kept that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Instead, they played it off as they totally didn't know each other. But
all the pickpocketing that, like, they're just making Dranzel this like slimy slime bag character.
Yeah. So I guess we could say just outright to the people here that aren't familiar with the campaign, like Dr. Dranzel and that crew, they're like a traveling band, but they're really just like con artists. And so like the band distracts while like one of them goes around and pickpockets everybody in the room type shit. And Scanlan was a part of that troupe at one point.
Yeah.
So
is the doctor guy the guy that was like going for an autograph or something?
Yes. That's
okay. That's great.
That's so interesting because I would agree, PJ, to some degree with like your initial assessment of why they probably distanced is because Scanlan does feel scummy, but not in that way. And so that would feel almost, that's interesting. I can understand.
But even so, the meeting of Kaylee and Scanlan is like an epic flute battle.
Yes.
That could have been so cool.
I could see us still getting the flute battle.
Yeah, that could
in all honesty. And like, Kaylee's not leaving. Clearly, she kind of like hung back towards the end there.
There's more there.
In my opinion, at least. And having them, so in the campaign, the meeting between Dranzel and Kaylee and Scanlan, that happens in Amon before the dragons attack.
Yep.
At a tavern. When everything's happy.
This interaction happens.
It
almost
does happen.
Exactly the way that it does.
Yeah.
But
they
it's
run
not their
back
first
into
meeting.
them here.
Oh.
Got it. So this is not usually the introduction point,
Exactly.
which also tells me that this is more important and that there's more here immediately. That's one of those things that I've always been like, again, campaign comparisons, right? We were talking about like animation not always leaning into the long form storytelling in the same way, and it's treating these things kind of like, these parts basically like movies. That's one of those things that I'm hoping that like they could have planted maybe it's not a mod, maybe it's Vasselheim instead, that they would have met at like a bar or something like that to transition that part of the story as opposed to Amon. But
also like how many rowdy bars are there in Vasselheim? They're pretty stuck up.
Yeah,
there.
how many times can you do the Slayer's Take and like the same scene, a couple of times?
Now I guess they could have been
that's a tough
performing
call.
at the Slayer's Take, but that's like a way
that was
different,
my original thought. Like I was like,
that's a way different vibe
Right.
if they still go the con man route. Like it's one thing to be like robbing dumb peasants in Amon. It's another to be like actively like doing the riskiest heist of your fucking life, trying to rob the Slayer's Take.
That's true.
Right.
Yeah. I get what you mean with the disappointment, PJ. I don't know if I'm not disappointed yet, if that makes sense. I think the closest thing to disappointment I have is I liked the dynamic that like as the show has been showing and as the campaign does, Scanlan used to be a huge scumbag and he's getting better. But even whenever we first meet him, he's better than he used to be. So I do like the idea that in Scanlan's backstory, he's part of this con man band. And then he runs back into Dr. Dranzel, and there's kind of like this back and forth of like, does he kind of fall back into his old habits? Is he at really like kind of a better person at this point? And that ties a lot into some stuff that we shouldn't talk too much about because
It'll
still
show
gonna come
up.
Yeah.
could it be the hat?
It's the hat. It just makes
It's
it
the
better.
hat. Like,
Totally the hat.
But,
PJ, is this Hoyd?
I would say as for other things, like I'm not too disappointed whenever it comes to like the Kaylee interactions. I actually think Kaylee's a much more interesting character in this adaptation so far.
I'm worried about the fact that they cut him out of this band in his backstory makes the placement of Kaylee not make that much sense anymore.
Right. I mean, at the end of the day, though, like it was always kind of
She intentionally
coincidental
joined
anyways.
that band.
Yes. But like, I think it still works in a lot of ways outside of that. Like, she intentionally joined a band that knows of and is admires Scanlan. Like
That's fair.
it's still connected. I'm super curious to see how they continue to adapt it with what they've set up. I think she's a lot cooler and a lot less annoying in the show. I don't like Kaylee very much in the campaign.
That's fair. Totally fair.
Yeah, real downer type, but she has a lot more interesting personality and like getting the animated expression and having like someone besides just Matt as another NPC bring her to life gives you a little bit more emotion other than the surface level, and I'm digging that.
Yeah, she's really cute.
She's pretty cute. I hope we still get a flute battle. That would be very good. There's a few spots I could see that happening in the future.
Just with like the pre-op of like this idea of having a flute battle is like, well, what if they spin the flute battle as opposed to them battling against each other as this? And I hope that it happens the way that you intend.
Back to
but
back
my
in a
brain,
fight?
not knowing, I think they're fighting off other people as with flutes, right? So like it would be in the
Legolas
Umbrasyl
versus,
flight.
Yeah, like I don't think
Yeah.
Kaylee was involved in the Umbrasyl fight in the
just a
campaign,
pitch,
but if they bring her into it, it would be sick to have her and Scanlan. Even like they've established there's only one flute, like tossing the flute back and forth, flute battle style. You know, like I don't know if they do some shit like that, then that's like a payoff that's kind of worth some changes.
It could be neat. That's where my brain went with it. After you introduce this concept of a flute battle, I was like, if that happens, okay. As an idea, you could spin that into like combat on the other side. It's also why I like this as the legend, right? As like in adaptation, you're allowed to change things to simplify, to move, to add at times. And so, you know,
it's just fun to see more bards.
Whether or not it
I
works
feel like
better
we
is a
haven't seen any like, at all. So just the one. So I'm excited to see where it goes.
I know we're not quite on to predictions yet, but do you guys have any knowledge well, I think Leslie might already kind of know, but any thoughts on who, like Kaylee, what's up with Kaylee?
I don't know anything
I have no
about
idea.
Kaylee. I don't know.
Oh, okay, cool.
I think she seems pretty cool, and maybe she'll like flirt with Scanlan, and then Pike will be like, "Am I jealous? I don't know," and there'll be like a conflict, you know.
Yeah, I think if Pike is gonna kill anyone, it's Kaylee. That's like my long term position is like mace to the face. I could see it happening here, like golden mace.
Yeah,
Everlight murders. Yeah,
I'll spoilers. I will 100% confirm that tension between Pike and Scanlan stems from Kaylee. Yes.
I mean, it makes sense.
Which also,
in some way, at some point.
That does like lend an interesting note in listening to like the campaign notes here, right? Which is kind of what Leslie and I are doing at the moment and taking those. And it's like, okay, so if I take the little bits from the campaign that you give me, where does my conspiracy brain go?
Yes, exactly.
Yes, crafty brain. And I'm like, okay, well, if they don't have a pre-existing relationship, that means one's develops pretty soon for conflict.
I am genuinely surprised that you guys are so in the dark about this based on how heavy-handed some of those comments were in the show.
Even art style, like artistic mentions within it.
Oh, are you talking about the characters' artistic style?
I don't know. Who's to
because,
say?
Okay, so some maybe a shot in the dark that I'll just throw. And obviously you don't say anything. When that character came on, Kaylee came on screen, I was like, okay, like Scanlan and Kaylee do have like the same face. I don't know if they're like siblings and that's why he was in the band or something. So like the love story could be just a total fluke.
Wait a minute.
But like they looked like just the same.
I gotta go check out her eye color real quick because like my brain, I gotta go back and make sure those aren't the dragon's eyes real fast.
Yeah, some guys are saying like, "Oh, I'm surprised you didn't catch anything." Now across the lip, and you're like,
"Motherfucker!"
Analyzing everything.
I love that it could be dead on or so far off. There's no way.
Yeah, exactly.
This has to be very entertaining. I think I mentioned this in the very first episode, but this has to be very entertaining for PJ because this is like the whole basis of our normal podcast, except for I am on the other side.
You know the book.
Yeah, I know everything. Yeah. And so like I'm very good at playing coy around these things.
No, a lot of time spent talking about Kaylee and Dranzel. Disappointments, hopes, things that were really cool. Differing opinions all across the board. Theories. But let's talk about how fucking cool everything else was. Like, the herd is brutal. Bringing Ripley in on the back of a fucking dragon, that wasn't in the campaign like that.
She's
that
badass.
Was fucking sick.
Yeah, dude. She's like, oh,
Umbrasil's appearance.
Now she's like in it. Oh, it's so cool. Scanlan didn't quite catch her, but
I remember in the campaign, future conflicts with Ripley, I was like, who the fuck was Ripley again? Wait. And then I like would look it up and be like, right. Yep. Remember Ripley.
Yeah, they kind of need to keep her in there.
The show's doing so well of like not really changing anything about her story or like canon of what's going on, but showing it as it's happening to where like later they're not like, and this is Ripley, and then Taliesin or Percy's like, she's back, and I'm like, who the fuck?
What?
Like really like keeping her in the forefront.
An evil POV, right?
Exactly.
Like, yeah. Keeps you,
and it helps to have that
in
human
your mind.
POV on the evil side. Like it's luckily with like these types of dragons, they are sentient and they speak, and like it's not just mindless beasts or anything, but like having that audience insert of evil is nice.
Yeah.
Totally.
I don't know what
this is
this
probably the
motion
only
is,
episode out of the 3 that I wanted to cry. Like,
Yeah.
like all those people, and then the kitty people, the cats, they're all like
Legally
scared of
distinct
Grog,
tabaxi.
and Grog was like, "Oh no!"
That's
Oh.
what breaks him. Yeah.
Dude.
Oh my god! And then I think he's gonna find his strength. Everybody, I think it's
so.
coming.
Okay. So I think we're in prediction realm. Unless you guys have other
I know the
campaign
Kingdom
comparisons or other
Hearts.
thoughts.
It's
I'll
like-
just say
Another Kingdom Hearts.
that like
Mhm.
Sweetheart Grog is one of my favorite things from the campaign, and they're doing it so well, even better than the campaign in some ways. Like the tender relationship between Grog and Pike and Wilhelm and like or
Mhm.
Wilhand, and just Grog's a big cutie and a big sweetie, and he also loves killing, and I like that those aren't ever portrayed as mutually exclusive. You know? Like,
I think that's important. I think that lends a lot of like humanity to violence in a certain way in the fantasy setting. Anyway,
I totally agree. I love everything about sort of this era of Grog, or this side of Grog, and the interactions with Wilhand and like all of the Horde, everything about it. I am totally on board. My only disappointment for this episode was what we talked about with Kaylee. So
for the record, is it the Horde or the Herd? I thought it was the Herd.
Herd.
I said Horde. I meant Herd.
Okay, just making sure.
Yeah.
Just making sure. As
I meant
legally
my
distinct from
Warcraft brain. Yeah,
Yeah, we have subtitles
It's
on,
like,
so we're like
what?
hyper into that. Yeah.
The Herd
Um,
of Storms.
Yeah. The swarm.
Zerg? What? StarCraft? Where are we?
I do wish they like leaned a little bit more into that half giant sort of portrayal. Like I wish they were a little bit bigger than normal humans.
Rather
in
than
the
like
show.
7 feet, they were like in that 9 feet range or something. Yeah.
I do think they still portray that well with the human that's a part of the herd that's not the same like ashen colored and tattooed body. That shows that there is a genuine disparity because that human is pretty small, even though she is very tall and large comparatively
And
to
you have like
what I
some
assume
half
an average
orcs and
human is.
orcs, just full orcs, I assume, that are like up there with them. So it does show like these guys are beefy, but I do know what you mean. Like,
yeah,
I think in the
they're
campaign,
not
Grog is
quite
supposed to be
that.
like 9 feet tall, and in this, I'd put him in that like 7-ish area, which is still fucking huge. But like, yeah.
Yeah.
I also noticed, so interestingly enough on that, like I noticed they released a silhouetted image for the Mighty Nine with the announcement of the animated campaign, which they released a silhouetted image of the Mighty Nine with the announcement of campaign 2 for all the characters. And similarly to this, they shrunk everyone a little bit. Like the sizes aren't as wild.
Like, okay.
Yeah. So I'm curious if it comes down to a framing issue.
I'm sure it does.
Probably.
This is like a constant thing with people talking about adapting Red Rising into animation or otherwise. Is like,
how do you have these
obsidians are
9-foot
so
golds?
fucking big.
Or 9
How
foot
do you make
obsidians,
like
7-foot
golds are big, reds are small, obsidians are huge? What the fuck do you do?
How
Like,
do you put a red and an obsidian on the camera at the same time?
yeah, more difficult than anything Lord of the Rings did.
Exactly, because at least with Lord of the Rings, like they're supposed to look short and stubby. You know, like how do you make that still look like a normal person and that look like a normal person but different?
Yeah,
Just cast me.
Two
Movie
people stacked on
magic,
top of each other.
baby.
Just cast
Cast
me and
PJ.
Crossland as all of the
As
characters.
a fucking. All right, so
Okay,
here's the
so
deal.
I'll play all
PJ,
the reds. Leslie will play all the reds.
I would also be a red. I would barely fit into. Actually, I wouldn't be a red. I would be a gray.
Yeah,
by
you could play a
technicality.
gray. Me and Leslie will play reds. We can get like someone
PJ's
who's
a
like
gold.
6 foot to be a gold, and then PJ can play the.
Yeah.
And it'll just be inches instead of feet differences. You know?
Right, that has to be it. Like
PJ's
PJ
a short
is
gold.
obsidian sized.
PJ's a short
He's a short
gold in real
gold.
life. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I have
fuck?
not read
Anyway.
the books.
You should read them. They're pretty good.
Highly recommend it. Yeah, but
Period.
the audiobooks are great. If you like audio, listen to the audiobooks. They're excellent.
I'll just call up Pierce. I'll be like,
Okay.
"Hey, Pierce Brown, can you read these out loud to my wife?" Thanks.
There's 3 more
Yes.
episodes, so I think we need just like one more big prediction of like what the hell is going to happen in these next 3 episodes. Like obviously, you know, Grog and the big fight with his uncle and getting that vestige. Like they'll definitely, I think they'll definitely get it. I don't know. we'll see what happens. Grog get his powers back.
I did want to make this comparison while we're talking about Grog. I think that fight is going to like have mental flashbacks to the fight with the, what's his name? Groom, the monk. Yeah, Earthbreaker Groon. We're going to see flashbacks where it's like, it's not about strength, it's about like how you hold yourself. And so he is going to approach that fight and fight like Groon did, to show that he is strong, right?
And take a level in Monk.
That's going to feel so good. Yeah, take a level in Monk, basically.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that there because I imagine that happening. What else did you have, Leslie? Oh, yeah. Sorry.
I'm just trying to talk about predictions. What's up?
On that same note, less of a prediction, more of a hindsight thing, or like a prediction of hindsight. I really want to rewatch this season once it's all out in like one big go. Because I do feel like the Earthbreaker Groom stuff almost feels a little out of place. But if you were to like watch that and like keep going, and you're right, and like now that we're in Grog's story, it feels so relevant, and I'm so happy it was there. But like whenever you just watch those episodes and then you wait a week, you're like, why was that in there? You know, so it's really fun getting to see like where Grog's story goes and how that pays off. And I bet you're right. Or even if you're not, like, even just the amount that they've been bringing up where he's like, you know, I know what real strength is now. Standing up to the little guy, like, it does pay that moment off in a cool way. And I assume it will continue to pay off that moment.
Yeah, that guy
and I want to rewatch that episode now, you know, so.
Yeah.
Leslie?
I have the same thought, right? Like my brain goes to the reason that Kaylee is brought up now is maybe for something immediate like this back-to-back flute fight that we're pitching, but then obviously going forward into the next season, she is in that same Groon point where it's like, this is about what's going to happen eventually, not about what's going to happen now, because she feels like she has the same sort of oracle weight. And so you want to place that here, just kind of like Ripley was involved in the previous story. Like, you got to have those tithes to the next season that are going to pay off down the line. So in religious fervor, because that's how tithes pay off, I guess. I don't know. I don't know why I use the word tithe, but I had to make it work. So there we are.
What are your predictions, Leslie?
What other ones?
Let's see. There will be a dragon fight, I think. Probably with the acid one, because that's been the main one flying around. And then maybe like there'll be like a stinger or something of the hidden dragon in like Whitestone, like coming up or something, you know. So there's only like one more season for Chroma Conclave, or two more.
I believe they said it's
more,
two,
but yeah.
I think they said they were going to try to do it all in two, but I'm not.
Well, so
because only getting through one dragon out of four is like, oh, God.
What they have specifically said, and it was the way they announced that they've already been renewed for season 3 before season 2 came out, was we were stressed about trying to figure out how to adapt Chroma Conclave into one season. And the good news is we can't, and we've been renewed for season 3.
Right.
They never.
I watched that Comic-Con panel live. I loved it.
They never technically said we can't, and we'll finish it in season 3.
Oh,
it's true.
But I do think they'll aim for. I think
that's the vibe. Yeah.
But honestly, I feel like they're about a third of the way through the Chroma Conclave arc. So I'm like, damn, next season gonna move fast. So it's hard to say.
And we only know about these vestiges right now, right? The gauntlets and the bow. We haven't been introduced to more. So
so there's no more teased yet.
Yeah.
From Mythcarver.
And
maybe
I'm thinking
spoilers,
maybe
PJ,
we'll get that sword.
Mythcarver, gauntlets, the armor, and the bow. Do they get any other vestiges?
Yes, the mantle.
Okay, yeah.
Spoiler alert.
But that's...
Yeah,
I don't know
not everybody gets a vestige by the end in the...
Oh, well, don't say that. I'm expecting like so much more.
Here's the deal.
And now you just crushed my dreams.
You not only crushed mine and Leslie's dreams, but also now I'm just going to be looking at every fireplace suspiciously for when they're going to pick up the fireplace mantle and run away with it on their backs. Like, and also, what god? The Hearthbringer? Like, which god is it that uses a mantle as their fucking vestige? All right. Champion of cozy places. Got it. Cool.
It's just like the god of all Tauruses. Just, I like being comfy and eating good food.
Yeah. Wow.
It's whoever Caduceus worships, I assume. But
yeah, I don't know what else to predict other
Wild
than
Mother, right?
Dragon fight, Grog fight, vestige retrieval, Whitestone might be fucked again. I don't know. Stuff. Things.
Obviously, our Feywild party has to come back, right? Like that's the next thing that we're going to see. They're going to arrive nearby. I assume, one assumes, unless they have some other way to get that information out about where they are. Maybe they run into the rest of the band at a tavern at a different city, and then they come to realize and quickly, walk to a tree or something. But I'm very curious as to how that interaction.
I would say
happens.
within the predictions, going back to shit that's like been specifically said in the show, they were all like the plan was to go to Westrun.
Oh yeah, they were.
So like once they get back, they won't know where they're going to Westrun. They know that's where the only other vestige they know about is.
Right.
So
yeah, it's just a question of how they get there. That was kind of my thought process. Is more like where are the friends? Are they going to run into the rest of the band?
They do have,
like how will they get back?
Yeah.
Like Healith alone has the capability of scrying and teleportation by trees or teleport by plant. So like she could just look at Pike, like scry on Pike, and then teleport the party there.
Also, I'm not saying it's not possible.
We don't know where Garmelie sent them, or so
Taldore. That was it.
Which is the whole continent.
The continent.
Yeah.
So
country,
it's totally possible.
Technically.
He's just like, all right, and back to your friends. Like they might literally pop out of a portal. Because again, none of this, they weren't separate in the campaign. These weren't happening simultaneously, so I have no clue. They might pop out of a portal mid-grog fight into the pit.
I mean, that character didn't know they had friends in this situation.
That character is revealed to be an archfey, which is basically a god that would know everything.
Oh, well, whatever.
I did find it interesting that we got two archfey in one episode, by the way. I just didn't say as such because that wasn't revealed yet, you punk.
Well, they show the entire cosmos in his eyes.
Yeah, that was cool. I was like, whoa. Erebos.
All right.
Yes.
Any other
Very
comments to be made?
I think not from myself.
It's going to be a good last 3 episodes, I think.
I think so.
I think we go ahead, PJ. Did you have?
I was just agreeing.
Oh, yeah. I am definitely very excited for these last 3 episodes. I wanted to say that I think that we had discussed maybe at the end of episode 2 that the way to watch this is probably going to be to do it all at once and then give like full season notes and like do a full just stretch of 2 hours of recording or whatever and just talk through the whole thing and talk about the episodes all at once.
Yeah, I think we should all watch them when it comes out, and then we rewatch it so we really know what's going on.
I might need 2 watches on these, honestly.
That way I can actually take notes on the rewatch.
Yes. My prediction is episode 10. First 5 minutes, Grog beats Kevdat, gets the knuckles, they go to Amon. Grog punches Thordak so hard his head explodes. Episode 11, all the other dragons come. They see that Grog punched Thordak's head so hard it exploded. They swear fealty to him. He becomes the new big bad. Episode 12, the rest of the group goes back to Whitestone, so that weird spinning black orb of death from the end of last season. Summons the Whispered One through it that they stopped last season. And then team up with him to defeat the new god, Grog Strongjaw. I think that's...
It sounds about right.
That's my prediction.
Spoiler alert, Josh. Jeez.
I think.
Very true. No?
Well, if anything else happens besides that, I'm going to be disappointed. But something I just thought of that I haven't seen in like maybe since like the first episode or 2. Has there been Matt Mercer cameos? Like character face cameos?
Yeah.
In every episode, really?
I'll have to go back and check, but either voice or face. I don't know about both every time, but yeah.
Oh.
It was definitely a voice this time. Yeah.
Yeah, he was definitely, and so was Liam. Liam's voice and Matt's face were both guards in Singorn last episode.
Yes. Liam was a screaming Goliath, or not a screaming, but like a shouting Goliath walking away in one of the scenes, and I went, that's Liam for sure.
It's so fun to pick him out.
I just nailed it. Yeah.
Yeah. I know they've talked about how they do, through the first pass before the animators, they do all the scratch themselves. So every single character at some point is voiced by one of the 8 of them. And then the actors come in and record over the scratch once the animation is set up. But sometimes that scratch just stays. So, yeah.
Cool.
That's naturally.
The actors couldn't surpass the gods.
Like I know Travis did the scratch for Kasha. And they talked about that a lot. And him and Will Friedle work together all the time. And Will Friedle's usually his voice director on a certain project that's ongoing. So he was making fun of him for playing his character. Yeah, that's all.
Naturally. Cute. Awesome. Well, I think that'll be the plan, is to watch it all and then to talk about it all at once. So for those of you at home of whom have been following along with this, of course, or that are following along with this, come in with all those episodes prepared. You've probably already been doing that for these. I don't know why. I assume that maybe you're pausing them in the middle and listening to us, a bunch of obtuse fools doing this the way that we do. But hope you enjoyed the format. We're going to break it on the last one, like, we're want to do.
Keep you on your toes.
I'm just too excited.
Yeah.
Woohoo!
PP on your toes? What?
Keep you on your toes.
Keep you on your toes, but PP on your toes.
PP on your toes sometimes.
Just real
Feel
quick,
alive.
PP on the toes. Just like a little short stream, but just like just a second.
Is it PP on your own toes? Because that's just like peeing outside, but it went bad. Or is it PP on someone else's toes? Because that's really sexual.
Bring it back in.
Oh no!
This is a bit we don't have to get
right.
into. That's okay.
That's okay. We can end the PP on your toes bit right there. So thank you so much, Josh and Leslie, for coming on the show and chatting with us again. We're gonna leave it on the PP on your toes.
That's for a second. That's legitimately what I thought you said, and then like by the time I made the joke, I realized it was PP on your toes. But I was like, yeah, dude, PP on them toes. I guess.
So good.
Hey man, whatever gets PP on your
so
toes,
bad.
All right, just do the outro.
PP on your toast. Thank you so much for listening to our show.
Be sure to check out Catacomb Parties, Tales of Kana on social media and on whatever.
We'll get through this, I swear.
We're just releasing the finale, or just released the finale, I believe, for camp or like season 1.
By the time this comes out, it's probably all out.
Yep.
It's definitely
season
done.
2 is about halfway.
Oh my god, this is coming out next week.
Sure is.
This one's coming out the week following. To be fair, this one is coming out the week of the 17th. But
next week we will, as we discussed, finish this season of the Legends of Vox Machina all at once. And in general, you can check out the links in our show notes where you can find our schedule, Patreon, previous episodes, and websites, social media accounts, fucking all of it in one spot. Super easy.
Yeah, as PJ had mentioned, Words Whiskey Pod on Twitter, Instagram, Reddit, Facebook, etc. wordsandwhiskyshow@gmail.com, patreon.com/words and whiskey. Check us out. Also, follow Catacomb Party at Catacomb Party on all of the things, including Mastodon, which was a funny meme this week inside of the episode. So very appreciative of all of you for listening to this. We'll see you next week for the end of that. And later.
Bye.
Oh, last one back's a troll deck.
Bye.
Yeah, bye.
Bye.